The stars looked the same as always, but Ambassador Zekthar knew today would change everything. He stood on the bridge of the Eternal Harmony and watched the empty space where the humans would arrive. His long blue fingers drummed against the metal rail as he waited. The Galactic Council had sent him to meet these new creatures from the third planet of a yellow star. They called themselves humans, and they wanted to join the galaxy's big family of species. Zekthar had done this job many times before. New species always acted the same way. They came with gifts and sweet words. They begged to join the council. They promised to follow all the rules. Most of the time it worked out fine. Sometimes it did not. The Vorthak Empire had been part of the council for 3,000 years, and Zekthar had seen it all. His aide walked up to him with a data pad. The young Vorthak's skin showed nervous purple spots. "Sir, the humans are coming. Our sensors show one ship approaching." Zekthar nodded. "Just one ship. Good. They understand they should not bring a fleet to a peace meeting." The human ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel right where it was supposed to. It was smaller than most council ships, but it looked solid. The metal hull had scratches and burn marks. These humans had been in fights before. The ship's name was painted on the side in their strange writing, Liberty's Edge. "Open a communication channel," Zekthar ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the human ship. A man with brown hair and tired eyes looked back at him. The human wore a dark blue uniform with small metal pieces on it. Behind him, other humans worked at control stations. Zekthar noticed they all looked different from each other. Some had dark skin and some had light skin. Some were men and some were women. Strange. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," the human said. His voice was calm but strong. "We come in peace and friendship. We bring greetings from all the people of Earth." Zekthar studied the human's face. "I am Ambassador Zekthar of the Vorthak Empire, speaking for the Galactic Council. Welcome to neutral space, Captain Morrison. We are pleased to meet your species." Captain Morrison smiled. It made his face look warmer. "Thank you, Ambassador. We have brought gifts from our world and scientific data we hope will interest the Council. We also have many questions about the galaxy and your civilization." This was going as expected. Zekthar felt relaxed. "Please dock with our ship, Captain. We have prepared quarters for you and your people. The formal meeting will begin in 2 hours." The docking went smoothly. Captain Morrison came aboard with 5 other humans. There was a woman named Lisa Parker, who wore the same uniform and carried herself like a soldier. A younger man called Ryan Collins carried communication equipment. The others introduced themselves, but Zekthar did not pay much attention to their names. The humans brought gifts as promised. There were pictures of their blue and green world, music that sounded strange but pleasant, books written on thin sheets, made from plants. Captain Morrison also handed over data crystals full of scientific information about their solar system. "Your people seem very creative," Zekthar said as he looked through the gifts. "These art forms are quite interesting." "We pride ourselves on being different," Captain Morrison replied. "Every human culture has its own way of seeing the universe. We thought you might enjoy the variety." The formal meeting began in the council chamber. Zekthar sat behind a large curved desk with his advisors. The humans sat across from them in simple chairs. Captain Morrison did most of the talking, but the others added details when needed. Everything changed when Zekthar brought up the scanning reports. "Captain Morrison, we have some concerns. Our long-range sensors show that humans have already established colonies on 14 worlds in this sector. You did not ask permission from the Council before settling these planets." The human captain's face became serious. "We didn't know we needed permission. These were empty worlds with no intelligent life. We thought they were free to claim." "No worlds are free to claim," Zekthar said firmly. "The Galactic Council controls all expansion into new territory. Species must prove they are ready for that responsibility. They must show they can follow our rules and respect our authority." Lisa Parker leaned forward. "With respect, Ambassador, those worlds were lifeless rocks when we found them. We've built cities and farms. Millions of humans live there now. Those are their homes. Zekthar's skin darkened to show his displeasure. The law is clear. Unauthorized colonization is an act of aggression against the established order. Your people must abandon these settlements immediately. That's not going to happen, Captain Morrison said quietly. The room became very quiet. Zekthar had expected some resistance, but not this calm refusal. Captain Morrison, you do not seem to understand. The Council has fleets that can enforce its will. We are offering you a chance to join our civilization peacefully. Do not waste this opportunity. Captain Morrison stood up slowly. His people stood with him. Ambassador, we came here hoping to make friends. We brought gifts and knowledge to share. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, but we won't abandon our families or give up our homes to prove we're worthy. Then you choose war, Zekthar said. We choose to defend what's ours, the human replied. We didn't come here looking for a fight, but we didn't come here to surrender either. The humans left the chamber and returned to their ship. Zekthar immediately contacted the Vorthak fleet. 12 heavy cruisers moved to surround the human vessel. The ships were massive compared to Liberty's Edge. Their weapons could turn the human ship into space dust in seconds. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system. Ambassador, this doesn't have to get ugly. We can still work something out. The terms are simple, Zekthar replied. Abandon your illegal colonies and submit to Council authority. You have 1 day to decide. Instead of answering, the human ship activated what looked like a distress beacon. The signal was weak and would take days to reach human space. Zekthar almost laughed. Did they think help would come in time? These humans clearly did not understand how space warfare worked. Hours passed. The human ship sat quietly in the middle of the Vorthak formation. No rescue fleet appeared. No desperate calls for mercy came from Captain Morrison. The humans just waited. Zekthar began to feel uneasy. Something was wrong, but he could not figure out what. The humans should be scared. They should be begging for another chance to negotiate. Instead, they acted like they had everything under control. On the bridge of Liberty's Edge, Captain Morrison watched the alien ships surrounding them. Lisa Parker checked her weapon systems. Ryan Collins monitored all communication channels. The other crew members prepared for what was coming. Sir, Ryan said quietly. The beacon signal has been received. Response code is green. Captain Morrison nodded. How long? Soon, sir. Very soon. The captain looked at the alien ships on his screen. They were beautiful in their own way. Elegant curves and smooth lines. Built for ceremony as much as war. The humans had studied these ships for months through secret observation. They knew exactly how the aliens liked to fight. It was going to be a problem for the aliens. All stations prepare for combat, Morrison ordered. Remember, people, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to go home alive. The trap was set. The aliens just did not know it yet. 3 days passed and Fleet Admiral Quinthara was getting angry. She paced the bridge of her flagship while staring at the human vessel trapped in the middle of her formation. The small ship just sat there doing nothing. No calls for help. No attempts to escape. No begging for mercy. The humans acted like they were on a vacation instead of facing certain death. Her second officer approached with another sensor report. Admiral, we still detect no incoming human reinforcements. The distress signal reached their space, but no ships have responded. There is only normal commercial traffic in this area. Quinthara's 4 eyes narrowed. She had been hunting enemies of the Council for 200 years. Every species acted the same when cornered. They either fought desperately or surrendered quickly. These humans did neither. They just waited. It made no sense. Perhaps they are too primitive to understand their situation, suggested her tactical officer. Their technology appears crude compared to ours. Maybe they think we will not actually attack. The Admiral considered this. The human ship was definitely less advanced than Vorthak vessels. Their weapons were kinetic projectiles instead of energy beams. Their armor was metal alloy instead of energy shields. Their engines were chemical rockets instead of gravity drives. Primitive indeed. We will show them the price of defying the Council, she decided. Target the nearest human cargo ship and destroy it. Let them see what happens to those who break our laws. The cargo vessel was 3 hours away from the battle zone. It carried mining equipment to one of the illegal human colonies. The ship was called Desert Rose, and it was piloted by a man named Sam Rodriguez. He had been a soldier once, but now, he just hauled freight between the stars. Rodriguez saw the Vorthak cruiser approaching on his sensors. The alien ship was 10 times bigger than his cargo hauler. Its weapons could vaporize him before he even knew he was being shot at. Any sane person would run or surrender. Rodriguez opened a communication channel to the alien ship. "This is Merchant Marine Captain Rodriguez of the vessel Desert Rose. I'm carrying legal cargo on a registered flight path. Please state your intentions." The Vorthak captain's voice was cold and formal. "Human vessel, you are ordered to stop your engines and prepare to be destroyed. Your species has violated council law. You will serve as an example to others." Rodriguez looked at his cargo manifest. Mining explosives, boring equipment, prefab habitat modules. Nothing worth dying for. Nothing worth killing for either. He thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was getting married next month. He had promised to walk her down the aisle. Well, he said to himself, I guess I better make this count. He opened the communication channel again. "This is Captain Rodriguez, we don't run." The Vorthak captain fired his main weapons. Bright energy beams reached across space toward the human cargo ship. They hit the Desert Rose dead center, and the ship exploded in a ball of fire and metal fragments. But the explosion was much bigger than it should have been. The mining explosives in the cargo hold added their power to the blast. The shockwave and debris cloud expanded outward in all directions. 2 Vorthak cruisers that had moved closer to watch the execution were caught in the explosion. Their shields flared and failed. Hull plates buckled. Systems went offline. Admiral Quinthera stared at her tactical display in shock. What just happened? The human cargo ship was carrying explosives, Admiral. Large quantities of them. The explosion damaged the Windwalker and the Star Pierce. Both ships report multiple hull breaches and power failures. This was not supposed to happen. Destroying one small cargo ship should have been simple and clean. Instead, 2 of her cruisers were crippled, and her formation was scattered by the debris field. Before she could regroup, another human ship appeared on her sensors. This one was smaller than the cargo hauler. It looked like a research vessel. The ship was called Science Dream, and it was commanded by Lieutenant Commander Kate Sullivan. Sullivan had been watching the alien fleet through long-range sensors. She saw them destroy the Desert Rose. She saw the explosion damage their ships. Now she saw them trying to reform their battle line while avoiding the spinning chunks of metal debris. "Perfect," she whispered. The Science Dream carried experimental equipment for studying gravity fields around stars. Kate had modified some of that equipment into weapons. Not the kind of weapons the aliens would expect. Not the kind they would know how to defend against. She flew her ship straight toward the damaged alien cruisers. The Vorthak ships detected her approach and turned their weapons toward her. Energy beams flashed through space, but Kate flew an unpredictable path. She spiraled and rolled and changed direction every few seconds. The aliens could not get a clean shot. When she was close enough, Kate released her surprise. Small devices that looked like escape pods drifted away from her ship. The Vorthak sensors identified them as harmless life support equipment. Their computers ignored the pods and focused on the research ship. The pods were not harmless. They were gravity mines. Devices that created small but powerful gravitational fields. When they activated, the effect was immediate and devastating. The Vorthak cruiser Windwalker was pulled off course by the artificial gravity. The ship's elegant hull was designed for beauty, not stress. Metal plates cracked. Support beams bent. The gravity field grabbed chunks of debris from the earlier explosion and flung them at high speed into the alien hull. The Star Pierce tried to avoid the same fate, but flew directly into another gravity mine. The ship spun out of control as competing gravitational forces twisted its structure. The captain fought to regain control, but his engines could not overcome the artificial fields. Both alien ships collided with each other in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. They were not destroyed, but they were no longer able to fight. Admiral Quinthera could not believe what she was seeing. Her disciplined fleet was being torn apart by 2 primitive human ships. Ships that should have been destroyed, easily. Ships that fought with techniques no civilized species would use. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system from the trapped Liberty's edge. Admiral, you wanted to see how humans fight. We fight to win, not to look good doing it. The Admiral's rage boiled over. You fight without honor. You use trickery and deception instead of skill and courage. This is not warfare. This is madness. Call it whatever you want, Morrison replied. Just remember that you started this fight. We're just finishing it our way. Admiral Quinthera ordered her remaining ships to regroup and prepare for proper combat. Ship-to-ship duels according to Galactic Convention. Honor and tradition would prevail over human chaos. But the humans had no intention of fighting a proper battle. Kate Sullivan's research ship began broadcasting strange signals on all frequencies. The signals bypassed Vorthak communication filters and played directly through their ship speakers. The sounds were harsh and discordant. Human music called heavy metal rock. The alien crews found it impossible to concentrate with the noise pounding in their ears. Other human devices began appearing throughout the battle zone. Things that looked like escape pods but contained electromagnetic pulse generators. Things that looked like navigation beacons but were actually computer viruses designed to attack alien systems. Things that looked like debris but were actually remote-controlled bombs waiting for the right moment to explode. The Vorthak fleet found itself fighting an enemy that refused to follow any rules. The humans used every dirty trick they could think of. They broadcast false surrender signals to confuse alien targeting systems. They released clouds of metallic chaff to blind enemy sensors. They even sent messages directly to individual alien crew members trying to convince them to mutiny. Admiral Quinthera realized she was losing control of the situation. Her ships were designed to fight other honorable species. They were not prepared for an enemy that would do anything to win. An enemy that treated warfare like a game where the only rule was survival. All ships fall back to safe distance, she ordered. We will call for reinforcements and deal with these humans properly. But as her fleet began to withdraw, the Admiral saw something that chilled her blood. More human ships were arriving. Not military vessels, but converted civilian craft. Mining ships with weapons welded to their hulls. Transport vessels carrying boarding parties. Even small personal spacecraft that looked like they had been built in someone's garage. The human reinforcements did not form up in neat battle lines. They did not announce their intentions or challenge the aliens to honorable combat. They just spread out through space like a swarm of angry insects and began attacking anything with a Vorthak energy signature. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system one more time. Admiral, you might want to call home and ask for those reinforcements now. This is about to get very interesting. Admiral Quinthara looked at her tactical display and saw her worst nightmare coming true. The humans were not just winning, they were enjoying it. News of the human tactics spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the crystal halls of the Zephyrian High Command war leader Veltanus listened to Admiral Quinthara's report with growing disbelief. The proud Vorthak fleet had been defeated by cargo ships and mining vessels. The humans had used weapons made from mining equipment and gravity research tools. They had fought like wild animals instead of civilized beings. Impossible, Veltanus declared. His tall frame rippled with indignation. No species defeats the Vorthak Empire with such crude methods. The Admiral must be exaggerating to hide her own incompetence. His aide handed him the full sensor recordings from the battle. The data was clear and undeniable. The humans had won by abandoning every rule of proper warfare. They had used trickery and chaos where honor demanded skill and courage. They had turned simple tools into weapons and civilian ships into warships. War leader Veltanus made his decision. Prepare the punishment fleet, 30 ships, our best crews. We will show these humans how real warriors conduct battle. Meanwhile, on Earth, Defense Secretary Helen Martinez sat in her office reading reports from the front lines. The first contact mission had turned into a shooting war. Captain Morrison and his crew were still alive but surrounded by enemy forces. More alien fleets were coming. Earth needed a strategy, and it needed one fast. General Alex Thompson entered her office carrying a thick folder. The old soldier's face was grim, but his eyes showed excitement. "Helen, we need to talk about Protocol Wildcard." Martinez knew that name. Protocol Wildcard was a theoretical defense plan developed by military thinkers who believed conventional warfare would not work against advanced alien civilizations. The plan called for abandoning traditional military doctrine entirely. Instead of fighting fair, Earth would fight smart. "You want to implement Wildcard?" she said. "That's insane, Alex. The plan calls for using civilians as combatants. It requires violating every treaty we've ever signed about the rules of war." "The aliens started this fight," Thompson replied. "They attacked our colonies. They destroyed our cargo ships. They made the rules irrelevant when they chose force over diplomacy." Martinez looked out her window at the blue sky and white clouds. Somewhere above those clouds, alien warships were gathering to destroy everything she had sworn to protect. The choice was simple. Fight fair and lose, or fight dirty and have a chance. "Do it," she said quietly. "Implement Protocol Wildcard." Within hours, the plan was in motion. Engineer Tony Kim received a message that changed his life forever. He had been designing asteroid mining platforms for the past 5 years. Boring work, but it paid well. Now the government wanted him to turn his mining platforms into weapons. "You want me to weaponize heavy equipment?" he said to the military officer who briefed him. "That's not what these machines were designed for." "That's exactly why it will work," the officer replied. "The aliens expect us to fight with military hardware. They've studied our warships and know how to counter them, but they won't expect an attack from a mining platform." Kim looked at the technical specifications for his latest design. The platform could move asteroids weighing millions of tons. Its industrial lasers could cut through solid rock. Its magnetic launchers could throw chunks of metal at incredible speeds. With some modifications, it would make a devastating weapon. "I'll need a team," he said. "And I'll need them fast." Across the city, Maria Santos was having a similar conversation. She had spent 10 years as a military logistics officer before retiring to become a chef. She understood supply chains and transportation networks better than anyone. Now the government wanted her to use that knowledge to hide weapon shipments as food deliveries. "The aliens are monitoring all military traffic," her briefer explained. "But they're not paying attention to civilian cargo, food shipments, medical supplies, entertainment broadcasts. We can hide intelligence gathering operations inside normal, commercial traffic." Santos nodded slowly. She had always believed that an army marched on its stomach. Now she would prove that an army could also hide behind its lunch. The most unusual recruitment happened at State University, where college student Ben Carter was finishing his computer science degree. Ben had a reputation for hacking into systems he was not supposed to access. Usually this got him in trouble. Today it got him a job offer. "We need people who can break into alien computer systems," the recruiter explained. "People who don't follow the rules. People who think outside the box." Ben grinned. "Lady, I've been thinking outside the box since I was 12 years old. When do I start?" The human colony on Kepler 442b became the testing ground for these new strategies. Governor Pete Davis had been a Marine before becoming a politician. He understood that his world would be the first target for alien retaliation. When the Zephyrian punishment fleet arrived, they expected to find a defenseless farming colony. Instead, they found a planet that had been turned into a fortress, but not the kind of fortress they expected. There were no massive gun emplacements or orbital defense platforms. Instead, the humans had weaponized everything. Weather control satellites that could create storms on demand. Trained attack animals from Earth that hunted in packs. Even the farm equipment had been converted into mobile weapons platforms. Dr. Amy Foster was a xenobiologist who had been studying alien technology samples for months. She made a discovery that changed everything. "Their systems are based on predictable patterns," she told Governor Davis. "Their computers literally cannot process truly random inputs. They're programmed to expect logical, organized responses." "What does that mean in practical terms?" Davis asked. "It means we can crash their systems by being chaotic enough," Foster replied. "Their ships expect us to fight in formation. Their weapons target systems expect us to fly in straight lines. Their communication networks expect organized data streams. If we feed them pure chaos, their technology will break down. The test came when war leader Veltanus arrived with his 30-ship fleet. The Zephyrian vessels were works of art, sleek, silver hulls that gleamed in the light of Kepler 442's sun, weapons arrays that could level mountains, shields that could deflect nuclear explosions. They moved in perfect formation, like dancers performing an ancient ritual. The humans met them with converted mining ships that looked like flying junkyards, cargo haulers with missile launchers bolted to their hulls, personal spacecraft that had been modified with cutting tools and welding equipment. The human fleet moved in no pattern at all. Ships accelerated randomly, turned without warning. Some flew upside down just to confuse alien targeting systems. War leader Veltanus watched the approaching chaos with contempt. They fly like drunken insects. Our targeting computers will destroy them before they can close to weapons range. But the targeting computers could not lock onto ships that moved randomly. The beautiful Zephyrian weapons were designed for precise shots at predictable targets. When faced with pure chaos, they simply could not function. Shots that should have been easy misses flew wide. Perfect formation attacks dissolved into confusion as human ships weaved between the alien vessels like schools of fish. The humans were not trying to win a fair fight. They were trying to drive their enemies insane. Tony Kim's weaponized mining platforms threw chunks of rock at alien ships while broadcasting Earth's most annoying television commercials. Maria Santos had hidden guided missiles inside food shipments that exploded when the aliens tried to scan them. Ben Carter's computer viruses infected alien systems and made them play human music at maximum volume. The breaking point came when Governor Davis implemented Dr. Foster's chaos theory. Every human ship began transmitting random data on all frequencies. Not just radio noise, but pure mathematical chaos. Numbers that followed no pattern, equations that had no solution, logic puzzles with no answers. The alien computer systems tried to process the information and failed. Their beautiful ordered technology could not handle true randomness. Ships began flying into each other as navigation systems crashed. Weapons fired at random targets as targeting computers gave up trying to make sense of the data. Communication. Networks collapsed under the weight of information that made no sense. War leader Veltanus found himself commanding a fleet of expensive metal sculptures instead of warships. His vessels were intact, but their computer systems had been reduced to electronic gibberish. His perfectly trained crews sat helplessly as their technology failed around them. "What are you?" he broadcast to the human fleet. "What kind of species? Fights like this?" Captain Morrison's voice came back from the Liberty's edge. "We're the kind of species that survives, war leader. We're the kind that adapts. And we're the kind that refuses to lose just because someone else thinks they're better than us." The Zephyrian fleet limped away from Kepler 442b, leaving behind 3 destroyed ships and their reputation for invincibility. War leader Veltanus sent a message to the Galactic Council that would be remembered for centuries. These humans fight like they are insane. They have no honor, no discipline, no respect for the proper way of conducting warfare. They turn everything into a weapon. They follow no rules except survival. They are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. The Council chairman received the message with growing alarm. The news of human victories traveled fast through the galaxy, and the reactions were not what anyone expected. The peaceful Altarian Union sent a secret message to Ambassador Linda Hayes asking if Earth would be willing to provide military advisors. The warlike Kronar horde requested an audience with human commanders to learn what they called chaos tactics. Even species that had never shown interest in warfare began asking questions about human military methods. General Thompson and Admiral Carol Knight worked together to develop what they called the human doctrine. It was not really a military strategy, in the traditional sense. It was more like a philosophy based on 3 simple ideas. First, adapt to any situation instead of trying to control it. Second, use every advantage available no matter how small or strange. Third, never let the enemy predict what you will do next. The doctrine was tested when Captain Danny Cooper received an unusual mission. His small patrol ship, the Wild Card, was exploring a system near the border between human and alien space. Cooper was known for creative thinking and unconventional solutions. Those qualities made him perfect for what happened next. A massive Vorthak dreadnought appeared on his sensors. The ship was called the Eternal Glory, and it was commanded by Captain Thexmar. The alien vessel was 50 times larger than Cooper's patrol ship. Its weapons could destroy a small moon. Its shields could protect it from nuclear bombardment. Any sane person would run away as fast as possible. Cooper opened a communication channel to the alien ship. "Captain Thexmar, this is Captain Danny, Cooper of the Earth Defense Force. I have a proposition for you." The alien captain's voice was filled with confusion. "Human vessel, you are completely outmatched. Why do you not flee or surrender? What proposition could you possibly offer?" "I challenge you to a duel," Cooper replied. "Single combat between commanders. Winner takes all." Captain Thexmar's translator had trouble with the concept. Dueling was an ancient tradition among his people, but it usually involved personal weapons and honor guards. "You wish to fight me in personal combat? This is acceptable but highly unusual given our circumstances." "Not that kind of duel," Cooper said. "I challenge you to a contest of creativity. We both have the same problem to solve. Whoever comes up with the better solution wins. The loser withdraws from this system and tells everyone about their defeat." The Vorthak captain was intrigued despite himself. "What problem?" Cooper transmitted sensor data showing a disabled alien vessel drifting near a collapsing star. The ship contained both human and Vorthak civilians who had been traveling together on a diplomatic mission. The star's gravity was pulling the disabled vessel towards certain destruction. Traditional rescue methods would not work because the gravitational forces were too strong. "You have 1 hour," Cooper announced. "Come up with a way to save those people. Best solution wins." Captain Thexmar accepted the challenge because honor demanded it. He gathered his best engineers and scientists. They proposed a standard rescue operation using the dreadnought's powerful tractor beam systems. The plan was technically sound and followed all established protocols. It had a 60% chance of success. Cooper worked alone on his ship's small bridge. He studied the stars, behavior, and the disabled vessel's trajectory. Then he came up with something that made no sense according to traditional physics, but might work according to human logic. "Captain Thexmar," he broadcast, "I propose we use the star's gravitational field and solar wind to surf the disabled ship out of danger. We position your dreadnought to create a gravitational anchor point. My ship will use its engines to push the disabled vessel into the solar wind stream. The star's own energy will carry the ship to safety while we gather valuable scientific data about stellar collapse." The Vorthak captain stared at his tactical display. The human plan was impossible according to everything he had been taught. No one surfed on stellar wind. No one used a collapsing star as a tool. The idea was madness. It was also brilliant. The rescue succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. The disabled vessel not only escaped destruction, but the operation provided crucial scientific data about how stars died. The information would save countless lives in the future by helping predict stellar collapse events. Captain Thexmar honored his agreement and withdrew from the system. But before leaving, he sent a message to Captain Cooper. "Human Commander, I have underestimated your species. What we call madness, you call innovation. What we call impossible, you call Tuesday. I begin to understand why you are winning this war." "We're not trying to win a war, Captain," Cooper replied. "We're trying to protect our families and build something better than what came before. If that requires being a little crazy, then so be it." The story of the rescue spread throughout both human and alien space. It showed that human creativity could solve problems that traditional methods could not handle. More importantly, it proved that humans were not just chaotic fighters. They were chaotic thinkers who could find solutions where others saw only disaster. This reputation began to change how other species viewed the conflict. The peaceful races saw humans as potential protectors who would fight for the innocent. The aggressive races saw humans as worthy opponents who deserved respect. Even the Galactic Council began to question whether their rigid rules were preventing them from solving real problems. The changing attitude was tested when the Void Swarm appeared without warning near Council space. The Void Swarm was an ancient, enemy that had nearly destroyed galactic civilization once before. They were creatures that existed between dimensions and fed on the life force of entire planets. Traditional weapons could not hurt them. Conventional tactics could not stop them. The Council's greatest fleets moved to intercept the swarm using strategies that had been developed over thousands of years. Perfect formations, coordinated attacks, honor and tradition guiding every decision. The results were catastrophic. Entire fleets vanished as the void creatures consumed both ships and crews. The ancient enemy was too powerful and too alien for conventional warfare. Captain Morrison received the distress call while his ship was being repaired after the latest skirmish with Vorthak forces. The message was simple. All available ships, respond immediately to defend Council headquarters. Species differences no longer mattered. This was about survival. Morrison looked at his crew. Lisa Parker was exhausted from weeks of combat. Ryan Collins had been working without sleep to keep their communication systems running. The rest of his people were just as tired, but they were still alive, and they were still human. Set course. For Council space, he ordered. Maximum speed. Sir, Lisa said quietly, we're just one ship. What can we do against something that destroyed entire fleets? Morrison smiled the way he always did before doing something impossible. We can be human, Lisa. We can be unpredictable and creative and absolutely insane. Sometimes that's enough. The Liberty's Edge was not alone when it reached the battle zone. Dozens of human ships had responded to the call. Mining vessels and cargo haulers, research ships and pleasure craft, even a few actual military vessels. None of them were designed for fighting interdimensional monsters. All of them were crewed by humans who refused to give up. The fleet commander was Admiral Carol Knight aboard the heavy cruiser New Horizon. She had helped develop the human doctrine, and now she would test it against the ultimate enemy. An enemy that could not be reasoned with or negotiated with or understood by any rational mind. All ships, she broadcast, forget everything you know about proper tactics. Forget formations and strategies and careful planning. These things feed on life force and exist between dimensions. Normal weapons won't hurt them. Normal thinking won't stop them. So we're going to be abnormal. The human fleet spread out through space like a cloud of angry wasps. Ships moved in, random patterns that defied military logic. They broadcast everything from classical music to death metal rock on all frequencies. They fired weapons that should not work against interdimensional beings. Kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives, and electromagnetic pulses. None of it should have been effective. The Void Swarm had faced every type of conventional weapon over the millennia. Energy beams passed through them harmlessly. Nuclear explosions only fed their hunger. Perfect military formations just made it easier for them to consume entire fleets at once. But they had never faced anything like human chaos warfare. The creatures that existed between dimensions required stable reference points to maintain their form in normal space. The random movement of human ships disrupted those reference points. The cacophony of human music and radio broadcasts created electromagnetic interference that confused their ability to navigate between dimensions. Most importantly, the humans refused to fight the Void Swarm on its own terms. Instead of trying to destroy creatures that could not be destroyed, they focused on making it impossible for the creatures to function in normal space. They turned the battlefield itself into a weapon. The final battle against the Void Swarm did not happen the way anyone expected. The Galactic Council's surviving ships watched in amazement as the human fleet turned space itself into chaos. Captain Morrison coordinated with Admiral Knight to implement the most insane strategy in military history. They were going to make the Void creatures sick by feeding them pure randomness. The key insight came from Dr. Amy Foster, who had been studying interdimensional physics since the first Void encounter. They exist between ordered dimensions, she explained over the communication network. They feed on stable life force patterns. But what happens if we give them something completely unstable? The answer came from an unexpected source. Steve Johnson was a mechanic who had volunteered to pilot a fighter when the regular pilot was injured. He was not trained for combat, and he definitely was not qualified to fight interdimensional monsters. But he understood machines, and he understood that sometimes you had to break something to fix it. "Doc," he said over the radio, "what if we give them Earth's weirdest stuff? I got a collection of every crazy thing humans have ever broadcast. Reality TV shows, internet memes, political debates, cat videos, all the random insane stuff that makes no sense to anyone, including us." Dr. Foster realized what he was suggesting. "Steve, you might be onto something. Their minds exist in ordered space between dimensions. If we flood them with pure human randomness, it might disrupt their ability to process information." Admiral Knight gave the order that would be remembered for centuries. "All ships prepare to broadcast everything. Every song, every movie, every stupid internet video humans have ever made, every random thought and crazy idea we've ever had. We're going to give these creatures the full human experience whether they want it or not." The effect was immediate and devastating. The void creatures had existed for millions of years in perfect dimensional harmony. They were used to feeding on organized life force patterns from civilized species. They could handle fear and panic and even pure rage. But they could not handle a species that thought random cat videos were entertainment. The interdimensional beings tried to process human culture and found themselves drowning in chaos. Internet comment sections, reality television arguments, debates about whether pineapple belonged on pizza, random song lyrics that rhymed orange with nothing, stand-up comedy routines about airplane food, the complete collected works of human creativity in all its beautiful, terrible randomness. Steve Johnson volunteered for the final mission because someone had to get close enough to the swarm's central mass to deliver the knockout punch. His fighter was loaded with every form of human media that had ever been created. Music and movies and books and games, art and poetry and philosophy, and thousands of hours of people arguing about sports. "This is for everyone who ever said humans were too weird to live," he broadcast as he flew directly into the heart of the void swarm. His ship's computers began transmitting everything at maximum power. The collected mental output of an entire species hit the interdimensional creatures like a tsunami of pure chaos. The void beings tried to retreat back to their home dimension, but found their escape routes blocked by the sheer incomprehensibility of human thought. They could not process the idea of a species that would voluntarily watch videos of people falling down for entertainment. They could not understand why humans would create art about sadness and call it beautiful. They definitely could not handle the concept of social media. Steve Johnson's fighter exploded when it reached the center of the swarm, but the explosion was not just physical. It was a dimensional rupture that sent every void creature back to their home reality while simultaneously closing the doorway behind them. The interdimensional invasion ended not with weapons or tactics, but with pure human weirdness. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council found itself facing a choice that would reshape civilization forever. The human fleet had saved everyone by abandoning every rule of warfare and diplomacy that had existed for millennia. They had won by being completely unpredictable and absolutely insane. Ambassador Linda Hayes stood before the Council Assembly accompanied by Colonel Frank Miller and cultural specialist Dr. Julie Walker. The chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species. Some were grateful for human intervention. Others were terrified of what humans might do next. All of them wanted answers. Honored council members. Hayes began. "We know you have questions about human methods. We know some of you think we're dangerous and unpredictable. You're right, we are dangerous and unpredictable. But we're also effective." The chairman of the council was a being of pure energy who spoke through electronic translators. "Ambassador, Hayes, your species has violated every convention of civilized warfare. You have ignored diplomatic protocols. You have used civilian vessels as weapons. You have turned entertainment into psychological warfare. How can we trust a species that refuses to follow any rules?" Hayes smiled the way humans did when they were about to say something important. "Chairman, you can trust us to do whatever it takes to protect the people we care about. That includes protecting our new friends in the galactic community. We didn't ask to join your civilization so we could follow your rules. We asked to join so we could help make something better." The debate that followed lasted for days. Some species argued that humans were too chaotic to be trusted with membership in the council. Others pointed out that human chaos had just saved the galaxy from destruction. The peaceful races wanted human protection. The aggressive races wanted to learn human tactics. The vote was closer than anyone expected, but humans were finally admitted to the Galactic Council with a special designation that had never been used before. Creative Chaos Specialists. Their job would be to think outside the box when traditional solutions failed, to break rules when rules got in the way of saving lives, to be the cavalry that arrived when everyone else had given up hope. Captain Morrison's final log entry was transmitted to every human ship in the fleet. Personal log Captain Jake Morrison, commanding Liberty's Edge. The war is over and somehow we won. Not because we were stronger or smarter than our enemies. Not because we had better weapons or superior technology. We won because we refused to give up and we refused to fight fair. He paused and looked out at the stars through his bridge viewport. They wanted to know if humans fight fair. The answer is no. We fight smart. We fight desperate. We fight for each other. We use every advantage we can find and we never stop adapting. Fair has nothing to do with it. The transformation of galactic society began immediately. Human officers were assigned as tactical advisors to alien fleets, not to teach them human methods, but to help them think beyond their limitations. Species that had been trapped in ancient feuds learned to resolve conflicts through creative problem-solving instead of traditional warfare. The galaxy became a more dangerous place for its enemies and a safer place for everyone else. Pirates and raiders found themselves facing opponents who would do absolutely anything to protect innocent lives. Aggressive empires discovered that conquest was impossible when your targets refused to fight the way you expected. Most importantly, the galaxy became a more interesting place. Human art and music and literature spread to dozens of worlds. Alien species began creating their own versions of chaos theory and random creativity. The universe got a little weirder and a lot more fun. Years later, when young beings asked their elders about the time before humans joined the galaxy, the answer was always the same. It was more orderly back then, more predictable, more civilized, but it was also more fragile. When the real crisis came, the old ways nearly got everyone killed. The humans changed everything, not by being better than anyone else, but by being willing to try anything. They proved that sometimes the best solution was the craziest solution, that sometimes you had to break the rules to save what mattered most. They proved that in a universe full of ancient wisdom and perfect order, there was still room for a young species that valued creativity over tradition and survival over honor, a species that would rather win ugly than lose pretty, a species that didn't fight fair because fair was a luxury they couldn't afford when the people they loved were in danger. The humans had joined the galaxy, and the galaxy would never be the same. Some called it progress. Others called it chaos. The humans called it Tuesday and asked what was for lunch. In the end, that was the most human thing of all. They saved the galaxy and then went back to being ordinary people who worried about ordinary things. They didn't think they were heroes. They just thought they were neighbors doing what neighbors do when trouble comes calling. They stood up and fought back and refused to quit no matter how bad things got. Because that's what humans do. That's what they've always done. And the galaxy was better for it.